Welcome to episode 7, my peoples. This is Rants and Randomness, and I am Luvvie Ajayi, your side-eye sorceress and wacky wordsmith. This is my show where I talk about things I'm loving, things I'm side-eyeing, and having great conversation with somebody who I think is interesting. Some of them you might know, some you might not know. I am here at the Chicago Recording Company, bringing y'all the official radio voice. What's up? And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about how this last week has been full of feel-good moments for me. I'm going to be ranting about this whole idea of free thinking, Kanye, and spotlighting the video that just dropped with Childish Gambino, a.k.a. Donald Glover, called This Is America. And then my guest of this episode is Franchesca Ramsey, a.k.a. Cheska Lee, who is a huge influencer and who just dropped a book. Well, she's dropping her book in a couple of weeks called, That Escalated Quickly. So, yeah, let's jump into it. All right, so one of the things that made me feel good this last week is somebody who shot their shot super correct at me. I was on Instagram and I see this notification, I'm tagged to this photo, and I click the photo and it's this dope digital illustration of me. And the person who did it wrote this caption under the photo. Hi, Luvvie Ajayi. My name is Luyolo Mzamo. I'm a graphic designer, photographer, and illustrator from South Africa. I always dreamed of working with big companies, people, and agencies. I'm a very dedicated young man, and I know talent alone isn't enough. Also hard work, and I'm a hard worker. I'm asking you to please give me the chance to reach my dream as a photographer, illustrator, or graphic designer. I would be honored to work with you to get good exposure, and my dream is to have my own company one day. Thank you. Y'all. First of all, the illustration is so dope. Like, he took the picture of me, that's the graphic of my podcast, and just digitized it, and it's so cute. It fits. It's perfect. But what I really loved was how he came at me so clearly. One, he introduced himself, told me what he did, said where he's from, and then told me about the dream that he has, which is to have his own company and do this work on a grander scale. And it was such a polite ask. It was such an impressive way to come at somebody who you don't know. And it was the perfect example of what I try to illustrate to people when I'm saying, I need you to shoot your shot in a way that makes sense. He did it in a way that made such great sense, I could not ignore him. So I reposted the thing and I said, here is to us seeing our dreams come true. Let's talk. So I DM'd him and told him to email me and told him to let me know how specifically he would like to work with me. And literally within an hour, he'd sent me an email here's my portfolio. I just want to help you do some design. So I'm going to figure out how I can use his work in my work, how we can collaborate, and hopefully I help bring him closer and make his dream come true. If you follow me on Instagram, go to @Luvvie, Luvvie. That's my Instagram account. And you'll see my repost of his of that illustration. And his account, Luyolo's account, is LVLZ_SA on Instagram. So honestly, if y'all can go show him some love, follow him. And hey, if you love his work, hit him up and hire him. That's how you do it. And then the second thing that made me feel good this week, I had a hellish travel week last week. I had to go to 2 cities in 48 hours. So on Monday night, I traveled to Boston, did a speaking engagement Tuesday morning in Boston. Right after that, I got on a plane, went to San Francisco, did a speaking engagement the next day, which is Wednesday. As soon as I finished with that, I jumped on a plane. Here's the thing. My plane didn't leave for 90 minutes. And then after that, we got diverted because we were coming back to Chicago. Got diverted to Minneapolis because of weather. Ended up having to spend the night in Minneapolis. Essentially, by Thursday morning, I was undone. So it felt good to be back in my city, back on solid ground, and on my couch in my auntie robe. It gave me all the life. So, gotta find the small things that bring us joy, and being in Chicago always brings me joy. So, yeah. All right, so my rant this week, y'all, this whole idea of free thinking is getting on my nerves. Honestly, Kanye's getting on my nerves. Here's a problem. So we've all seen Kanye have his various degrees of meltdowns on Twitter. And we've all wondered why somebody just can't take his phone. It's gotten especially bad in the last 2 weeks with Kanye being all, oh my God, Trump is my brother. He's wearing a Make America Great Again hat. He's essentially being like aligning himself with the whole MAGA crowd, which is a far departure from the Kanye that we knew. Now, as people criticize him, and of course he made that whole statement about like when he went to TMZ about how slavery was a choice for African Americans because for 400 years you figure out how to no longer be enslaved for so long. Like, this statement made my brain want to ooze out my ears. I don't even feel like touching it because I'll just rant about that. But whenever Kanye's critiqued, his defense is that people just hate the idea of him being a free thinker. And that is annoying. Here's the thing. We all know that groupthink is a thing. We all know that people tend to think in the way that others around them think. So the idea of free thinking could be appealing to folks who want to be counter-revolutionary, like counterculture, who want to be rebels. But here's the thing. Kanye ain't got a cause. Because if being a free thinker somehow means your words are expressing that my life is less valuable, that makes your free thinking null and void. Like, if your free thought is affirming hate or supporting somebody who affirms hate or makes my quality of life worse or it shows you don't have regard for my safety, then I don't care about your free thought. Your free thought is not okay. I just think people think being contrarian is the goal. If you are being contrarian just for the sake of saying the opposite of what most people are saying, what is the point? What is the value? What are you actually trying to accomplish? Now, this whole free thinking thing, there are many times when you say things that are difficult that others might not be saying. There are many times when your actual opinion does not align with what most people are saying. But in the times when people who love you, who are your fans, who are putting money in your pocket, are actively saying your free thought or whatever it is, your idea, is actively harming me, I'm going to need you to take a step back. And right now, Kanye is on this air of like, I am holier than thou and higher than everybody. I'm better because I just happen to think outside of the box. There's no box that fits me. Kanye, my guy, like, I'm going to need you to, first of all, deflate that giant ego, which we already knew Kanye had a giant. That was not the problem. I don't care. Like, he's a talented person, sure, big ego. But it becomes unbearable when the big ego comes with this delusions that everything that you're saying is somehow valid just because it's contrarian. I'm just really annoyed by how that conversation is so simplistic. Like, Kanye, everybody doesn't hate you just because you disagree with things that we say. We are criticizing your words because you are literally aligning with a man who is friends with white supremacists, is a white supremacist himself, and then you call him your brother. And then you're saying you're just free thinking. Bruh, no. I'm a Chicago girl. Us Chicago folks, we have loyalty to our people to a fault, okay? Like, there are a lot of Chicago artists who do a lot of foolishness, who we still stand behind sometimes, that's just like mind-boggling. R. Kelly, okay, that's a whole different rant because that man there is a terrorist. Like, he's a sexual terrorist. But again, different rant, different day. But I think there are times when we have to call our folks to the carpet. We have to stand and be like, you know what? In these moments, whatever sense of loyalty that you think you have for people, sometimes you have to drop it. I'm sorry, but anybody who is saying Trump is my brother and Make America Great Again, wearing the hat proudly, I don't care if that is my best friend. I'm sorry, this might be the end of the road. This will be the end of the road. I can't stand by that because the amount of damage that the person who you're affirming has done is just too much. So, I mean, Kanye's whole situation is frustrating, and I just think he is so obsessed with proximity to whiteness. What's funny, he keeps talking about like the sunken place. Please, he is deep, deep, deep in it. And this whole free thinking thing that he's on, you need more people, Kanye. You need more people. It's not working. So I hope he gets it together. And honestly, even if he doesn't, even if he does get it together, for me, I think Kanye's pretty much done. I don't think I would ever be buying his records again. I definitely wouldn't be going to a Kanye concert. And yeah, he can survive on his free thinking. All right, so that's my rant. So, on the other hand, my randomness, the thing that I'm loving is Donald Glover's This Is America video. So Donald hosted Saturday Night Live, and he was also the musical guest as Childish Gambino, and he debuted the video to his latest single, This Is America. And I have to say, this video has gripped me in a way that I don't think a music video has like this probably in like 10 years. Like, I'm not a huge consumer of music videos anymore because, MTV stopped showing them. But I'll watch some on YouTube. This video is something that I was obsessed with immediately. So I watched it the first time and I was like, oh, maybe I'm not deep enough. I'm not getting it. But something made me want to watch it again. And then I watched it the second time and then I was like, bruh, Donald Glover just like made my mind just expand in a way that I wasn't expecting. I'm a casual fan of Donald Glover. Like, I'm not one who knows all the Childish Gambino songs. I think he's a completely talented dude. So I wasn't expecting like the world from him. And I don't make a habit of watching something 3 times in a row, let alone 5 times. But this video I watched 10 times because I kept on being like, okay, I know I missed something. I know I missed something. So the first 2 times I watched it, I couldn't stop watching Donald's body rolling. Like, him, his little bird chest, he's adorable. And then I was like, okay, my pupils will slip and I'll notice something in the background. I'll be like, oh, there's a lot happening there. And then the 3rd time I watched it, I completely ignored Donald. And I was like, let me just watch what's happening behind him. And that's the clear point of this video. Like, it's like we're too busy being distracted by what's shiny and what's dancing right in front of our faces to pay attention to what's happening that's actually destroying us. So it's like, yes, you're meant to watch this video the first 2 times, just completely enthralled by Donald and being like, why does he dance so terribly sometimes? And what is he doing? And yeah, what is up with this like fact that he doesn't have on a shirt? All those questions that you think you should be asking, I guess you should be asking it because that's the point. But then when you really pay attention to what's happening behind him, you start understanding that, yeah, he was supposed to serve as that distraction. Like, it's the point of we spend our lives looking at what is right in front of our faces, but we miss the things we're supposed to pay attention to. So I wrote a piece on it because I was just like, this is crazy. The amount of symbolism, the metaphors, the layers to this video, it's genius. I don't even use that word often. And what's funny is in my piece, I didn't use that word. But I think it's genius to visually represent our world in such a way. It's a different way. Like, I don't necessarily think anything he is saying is necessarily revolutionary, but the presentation is brilliant. It is stunning. It's gripping. From the first guy that we see in the video, who's a guitar player, he looks like Trayvon Martin's father. He's not. That wasn't Tracy Martin. That was an artist named Calvin II. That casting could not have been accidental. I think it's interesting that was a first fatality in the video, too. Like, Childish Gambino shoots this man. And for him to be the first person to die, I think for a lot of people, Trayvon Martin's death was the catalyst to them really kind of waking up to the idea that we still live in a world where Black and brown people are getting their lives taken without consequence from people who've been given authority to do it. So for a lot of people, it was a moment of like, oh, I didn't know this was still happening. So I can't imagine that casting was like a coincidence. And of course, like, the first pose that Donald strikes right when he's about to shoot him in the head, he was representing like the Jim Crow poster child. Like, in the posters that we used to see of the white man dressed, in blackface, dressed up, Jim Crow was that character, and Donald essentially was playing this minstrel throughout the show. Like, he's like, I'm going to dance for you, so you won't see what's happening behind me. He even wore yellow shoes, and yellow was typically a color that was prominent in these posters and these illustrations. And of course, the fact that the guns in the video got so much more care than the people whose lives they took. Both times that Gambino used guns in the video, he ended up giving it to somebody who was there with a pink towel. So the guns end up being cradled. Meanwhile, bodies are being dragged away or just being left there to bleed out. And it just reminds me that this country really, it puts the rights of guns above the rights of humans. Like, people protect guns way more than they protect actual people. And it's completely absurd of us to use the Second Amendment as the highest law in the land. It's the one that people consider the most sacred. And that was the clearest thing besides the idea of, distractions in this video. There was a choir of 10 people who were singing and saying, "Get your money," and Donald sneaks in and shoots them. And for us, it was a clear reminder of the Charleston shooting, what the 9 people who got shot in Mother Emanuel Church. That kind of felt like a punch to the chest. Just watch it again. It's like, whoa. This is the society we're living in. There's so many statements in this thing. The kids who were following him and dancing right with him, like they never missed a beat. It's like, is he trying to say that kids of this generation are now very super materialistic, super distracted by the new dance crazes, that they don't pay attention to anything else that's happening around them? There were cops in the background. Like, there was a cop car that was whirling as he walked by it. There were cops who were chasing people behind him. And I think he was saying it's because cops are bringers of chaos. Like, their presence doesn't bring you safety. It doesn't bring peace. They're not serving or protecting. They're actually adding to the chaos. They are the source of the chaos. I don't know. The video is just so deep. But I think his indictment of hip-hop is powerful too in here, where when he was dancing with all his might as literally things are on fire behind him, he's singing "I'm pretty and I'm on Gucci." Essentially being like, yo, new rap, all this mumble rap, all this trap rap is completely ignoring the things that are necessary, and it's just doing the flossing. But through it all, through this video is the idea, is the juxtaposition of Black joy and Black pain. Because I think Black joy is a form of resistance in a world that loves Black pain. But where's the room for the fight if we want to see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil? If we're dancing our way through it all, is it just a coping mechanism for us? Is it the way we keep our heads above water? Or is it such an escape that we end up not being able to give room to the fight? There's just so many symbols in here. After I wrote my piece, people were sending me more. The fact that Donald had on no shirt and these tight gray pants, somebody said it reminded them of Fela Kuti, of course, the Nigerian musician and activist and revolutionary who ends up, the man was talking about some persecution by a government. So that was powerful. If that was actually what he was going for, I see it. I'm loving it. Other people, when they were standing on the cars, people were saying maybe it's a throw, because there were 80s cars and early 90s cars. They were saying maybe it's a throwback to the war on drugs that happened, that put crack in Black neighborhoods and then criminalized Black people for it. It was just a lot. And I think art is supposed to make us debate, and it's supposed to make us try to find the real. Like, what does it mean? We're all not going to agree about what everything means in this video, but it's doing exactly what it needs to do, because it's making us reflect, and it's turning a mirror on us, because I feel like this video is showing us that this is where we are. This is America, which is supposed to be the land of the free, home of the brave, but it's really not. So, anything that can touch on gun violence, apathy, generational gaps, police brutality, white supremacy, evolution of music, materialism, cultural ADD, unattainable wealth in 4 minutes. Brilliant. My gosh, dude was over here dropping layers. And the director of the video, Hiro, let me see, what's his name? He's the same guy who actually directs, he's a showrunner for Atlanta. So essentially it's showing that Donald and Hiro Murai, that's his name, Hiro Murai. It's showing that these two together, man, they're about to go far. They're about to go so far. The visuals, just everything. So if you haven't checked out This Is America, watch it. I want you to watch it at least twice and then watch just the background and then watch it a fourth time when it's on mute and see what you can pick up. And then, yeah, you can read my piece on it. Just let me know if you find more pieces in there of symbolism. I am encouraged that in times of great chaos, we create great art. And I think This Is America is great art. All right. I am super excited for my guest today. She's a friend who's been killing it on these interwebs for what feels like forever. We've known each other for a while, but we met in 2012, and we've been rocking since. She is amazing. Hey, Franchesca.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I am excited to have you. I want to give people your mini bio so they understand how dope you are. Franchesca is a social justice advocate, comedian, actress, writer, video blogger, sought-after speaker, and the host of the award-winning MTV web series Decoded. She's been featured on NPR, Anderson Live, CNN, the BBC, and in the New York Times. A former writer and correspondent for Comedy Central's The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore, she's also written for BET's Black Girls Rock Award show and currently has multiple TV projects in development. And her first book, Well, That Escalated Quickly, will be published on May 22nd, 2018. What up?
Oh, my goodness. That makes me sound, I'm really feeling myself a little bit right.
You should be. You've done a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, my God.
Well, that coming from someone who is honestly one of the hardest working people that I know, that is like a huge compliment coming from you.
Yo,
so
the grind is so real. So I'm wondering, like, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Ooh, I mean, I knew I wanted to be an actress or some sort of performer. I had like a hot second where I really thought I was going to be a singer, which I'm so glad I abandoned that trajectory because that was not the life for me. But yeah, I always really wanted to perform in some way or another. I just wasn't really sure that I never anticipated that it would take this path, but I always wanted to be on stage or in front of people making them laugh in some capacity.
So what did you get your degree in, and how did the whole Cheska Lee thing happen? Because if y'all are listening, she also goes by Cheska Lee on the interwebs.
I sure do. So the Cheska Lee thing was kind of like an accident in the sense that at one time your email address was your username on YouTube, and so my email address was Cheska Lee, and it was like a nickname because my middle name is Lee. And so I just had friends that would call me Cheska or Cheska Lee. And so I thought like it was cool. I never intended for it to become my name. And sometimes I think it's kind of strange when people are like, Chelsea. And I'm like, my name's not Chelsea. Like, they don't know how to pronounce it. It's a very strange spelling, but I'm kind of stuck with it. Yeah. I went to college initially for acting. So I have half of an acting degree from University of Michigan, which I am very close to being done paying off, which I'm very excited about.
Wait, you said half. You said half.
Yeah, I didn't finish.
Okay.
I loved studying acting. I went to performing arts middle and high school, and then when I went to college, I think I was just really burnt out on acting classes. Largely because it was a lot of rolling around on the floor and pretending to be like a dog. And I was just like, what? Why am I paying for this? They're like, now be a tree. And I was like, why is this $45,000? This is ridiculous. Like, I don't, like, no shade, but all shade. Because, like, acting to me is supposed to be, like, fun and being creative for sure. But some of the stuff that we were doing just felt very strange to me, and I couldn't understand why we were doing it. And at the time, I got a job on campus working for the School of Public Health's website. I grew up online. I went to computer camp. I loved, coding and making stuff. So I thought, well, maybe this is a good career. and I transferred schools and got my undergrad in graphic design. So that's what I went to school for. Again, no way thinking that it would turn into what my career is now.
Right. You've been doing videos on YouTube for over 10 years. So back when it was still legit playing on the internet. And
there was no like career goals from it. It was just fun.
Right. And then what happened? Like, what was the story? How did you become, oh, this is actually going to pay me money and I'm actually going to pay attention to it?
I mean, the most Cliff Notes version, because you should read the book where you get the full story, is that I've been making videos for about 6 years before I had a viral video in 2012, which was right around the time you and I first met, which was Shit White Girls Say to Black Girls. Mm-hmm. And I had been making videos, and I had not been making a lot of money, like maybe a few $100 here and there off of my AdSense. And then when that video went viral, I genuinely had no idea how much money people were making from viral videos. And it's not the same kind of money it is now. I mean, I think 2012, because it was so new, you could make a ton of money if you went viral. And I just had no idea. And from that video, I got an agent, and I thought, well, this is my chance to kind of pursue this and give it a shot. And so I quit my job. I was retouching photos at Ann Taylor, and I loved my discount, miss it very dearly to this day. But I wanted to, give it a chance, and I knew that I would need to leave my job if I was going to actually try to work in entertainment.
You know what's funny is when Shit White Girls Say to Black Girls happened, it was at a time when a whole bunch of people were making the whole shit people say to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And yours connected because you were essentially talking about the frustration that being a Black girl has, especially when dealing with white friends or white coworkers. So it connected, which is why you got 1.5 million views in the first day. I
genuinely thought that this was a video about my experience being from West Palm Beach, Florida, and in no way did I think that millions of people, let alone it's now at 12 million views. I had no idea that many people would connect and resonate with that video.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is that summer is when you and I met. We met at the Blog Her conference.
Right.
And we were on a humor creating panel together, and it was Dr. Goddess, me, you, and Issa Rae.
Yes.
And you know what's funny is there's a picture that somebody took of me, you, and Issa right before the panel was about to start. Like,
we look like babies.
We look like babies. Like I had long locks. You had your locks in like a bun. Issa had like a small afro. And here we are, the three of us on this panel. And I actually have this picture on my desktop, on my laptop.
Wow.
Because I look at this picture from 6 years ago, and I'm like, who would have thought our careers would do the things that they've done? Like, all three of us have just done these things. Like, we've seen our dreams come true. So for me, it's a reminder of like, yo, that's where y'all came from.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, every time that photo comes up, like whether it's in my Facebook memories or someone shares it on Twitter, I have very much the same feeling. I also am so glad I learned how to fill in my eyebrows correctly, because that photo is just like, oh, that was from a dark time in my life.
Listen, we've all come up. The glow up is so real in our lives. Can we just thank God for the glow up? Because that picture is struggle. All of us was like, whoo, okay, we much better now.
We were going through some things at that time.
We was all broke. Like, even though we was like getting these like viral moments, we was all still hustling hard.
Yeah, but I mean, that was an awesome just experience to be around so many people that were doing so many awesome things. Because I remember being on that panel and thinking, everybody on this panel is crushing it. Why am I here?
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is something that unfortunately or fortunately a lot of creatives deal with. And I think it's part of the process of staying humble and never getting to a place where you think you're the best and you deserve to be the center of attention all the time, but also just surrounding yourself with people who are so hardworking and so talented. It's really motivating and inspiring. So, I mean, I consider myself very fortunate to call you a friend, and have been in that space with you, and now to see where we're at 6 years later is very cool.
It's crazy. How do you deal with the imposter syndrome of ending up in these rooms? Because that was back in 6 years ago. And recently, you just actually interviewed Janelle Monáe at the screening thing that she did for Dirty Computer. How do you get yourself out your head to be like, you know what, I belong where I am?
Oh my goodness. It's really a daily struggle. And even sitting down with Janelle Monáe was really interesting because I asked her a similar question. And it was really eye-opening for me because she was kind of nervous and about the screening. And I was so surprised. I was like, why are you nervous? You are like an amazing musician and creative and actress. And I mean, you are so accomplished and so talented. And she was just like, well, I really care about this thing and I really hope people like it. And it was kind of a light bulb moment for me to say that feeling never really goes away.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not necessarily that you try to stifle that feeling, but you try not to give into it and let it keep you from doing what you need to do. Because there are always going to be rooms that I am the least accomplished person, or there's somebody that's funnier than me or smarter than me, always. And I think that should be the case. Like, you should always be in rooms with people who are going to cause you to rise to the occasion. Yes. And so for me, I try to, instead of giving into, oh my God, I don't deserve to be here, reframe and say, like, well, what do I need to do so that I can ensure that I can stay here and really prove to the people that I did earn my chance to be here. Maybe I'm not so sure, but I'm going to work my ass off so that everybody else here knows, and I know on some level, that I do deserve to be here.
Yo, I think it's important that we recognize that when we end up in these rooms, even if we don't think we belong there, the fact that we're there means we belong there. So,
absolutely. Well, and I think I wish I could remember who said this to me. I feel like as soon as we hang up, I'm going to remember. But someone said something to me along the lines of, when somebody gives you an opportunity, don't insult them by telling them that they don't know what they're talking about by believing in you.
Ooh, and that's a word.
Wow. I was like, wow, that is so true. Because if someone says, like, I'm going to give you this job, and you are going to now say you don't deserve that job, you're essentially calling that person a liar. You're saying, like, you are stupid. You made the wrong choice by hiring me. You should have hired somebody else. Instead of thinking about it that way, saying, like, well, what is it that they saw in me, and how can I see that in myself so that I can earn my spot here? And that is, it's of course easier said than done. And you know this because I have slid up in your DMs and your text messages many a time. Like,
and I'm like, get it together, girl. You were supposed to be there, girl. Stop it. But you know what? We usually need those moments. And I think that's also like why it's important to surround ourselves with women who can see us better than we see ourselves. Is because in those moments, they'll shake us back into like, girl, you were badass. You were supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be interviewing Janelle Monáe. Of course you're a writer on a TV show. Why would you not be? If not you, then who?
Absolutely. And I think for me, I'm really trying to be that for other people more because it has been so helpful and affirming for me when people in my life have just reached out and said, like, hey, I'm so proud of you. You were really crushing it. Or I saw that thing you did and it was awesome. And it always comes at the moment where you're doubting yourself or you're having a bad day or you lost that gig. And so I'm really trying to, even if it's like 5 or 10 minutes out of my day, to just like send a few emails, send a few texts, and just be like, hey, I see you. You're crushing it. Keep up the great work. Hope I can see you sooner rather than later. But like, you're awesome.
Yeah, no, that's really important. Yesterday, I got a text like that from one of my friends who randomly was just like, you're so dope. I said, what'd I do today? And she was just like, no, I just had to say that because I was listening to one of your podcasts. And I was like, wow, like I really needed to hear it in that moment. So being that for other people is so important, which is why I have been so excited about the fact that you're dropping your book. Well, that escalated quickly.
Thank you. And I mean, it's just such a cool full circle moment because watching you when you dropped your book and all of the doors that it opened for you. And, I was taking notes. I was there, like, when Luvvie was doing her tour, and I was like, all right, I see who you're working with. I see how you're promoting. I see how you're hustling and grinding. I'm taking notes for my little Google Doc when I'm ready. So, yeah, it feels really cool. And I'm so excited because you and I are going to sit down for my Chicago stop on my book tour. And I feel like we're going to have so much great stuff to talk about, and just the themes of the book around communication and social media, and essentially like how awesome the internet is, but also how terrible it is. Yeah. I feel like we have lots to say.
We have a lot to say. I can't wait to be like New York Times best-selling author Franchesca Ramsey, okay?
Oh, my God. Like, put it in the universe.
Oh, look, okay, we're going to claim it. It's already done, because that's what I did when my book was coming out. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to claim it. It's already done. I'm just going to say I'm a New York Times bestselling author to myself. So it's going to happen for you.
It's on my vision board. It's on my vision board.
Boom. Yes. It's done. It's happening. So this book, which I read, by the way, in 2 days, when you sent me the advanced copy, I was like, all right, me, couch, let's do this. I was like, let's go. I was in my auntie robe. I was ready, okay? It's so good. And one of the things that I really love about it is how vulnerable you were about your accidental activism and how everyone talks about being woke now and everything. In this book, you talk about how you've been able to learn more and be who you are today because of the internet, and how you've made mistakes along the way. So what gave you the courage? What gave you the courage to finally tell all this stuff?
I think it's partly courage, and also partly I have found that when I go speak at colleges, for example, or even just online, oftentimes, people will shower me with compliments, which is wonderful, but also it makes me feel a little bad sometimes because people will say things like, you're amazing. You're so smart. I could never be as smart as you. I could never be as successful as you. And I'm thinking, you have no idea that I am crying in a corner every day before I have to do anything. that so many of the things that you think that I know, I just learned myself. I'm reading a teleprompter at work. Just you are comparing yourself to where I'm at in my life and career and my personal journey without realizing that it took a lot to get here, and it's a continuous process. And I found, there's nothing worse when you look up to someone and you say, wow, you're doing all this stuff. How did you get here? And their response is, I don't know, just stuff happened. I just woke up one day and here I was. You're like, that is not helping me at all. This is making me feel terrible. And so I appreciate when other people are honest about their personal journeys. So I thought, why not just put it on the line and just hope that people can see that it takes time to get where you're at, and that everybody makes mistakes. No one is perfect. And hopefully by being honest about my own mistakes, that more people will be honest about theirs as well.
Real life. We got to show what's behind the scenes. And in this book, you also talk a lot about the trolls that you've had, because YouTube is a hardcore space to be on. Yo,
it
YouTube
is the worst.
These trolls, how do you manage your own psyche while engaging with trolls, or do you even engage with them anymore?
I've stepped back a lot, and it's really helped me. And, I think for most people, there are going to be people who read this book and think well, I don't deal with trolls in that way, right? I don't have people on Twitter or on YouTube saying these nasty things about me. But in reality, we all have trolls sometimes in our real lives.
Yeah.
You have that family member who every single time you do something, they have something negative to say about, your job or your partner or your apartment or your weight, whatever it may be. And you have to, at some point, say, this is zapping me of my energy and my focus. And that's exactly what that person wants. And it's really not about you. It's about them and the unhappiness that they have in their own lives or careers or relationships or bodies or whatever it is. And so reframing and thinking about it that way has been really helpful for me. And to really focus on my own work instead of giving attention to people that don't like me, are never going to like me, but they're still following me. So thank you.
Right. Follow your every move, being I hate her, but you're still here though.
Right, exactly.
Like, how do you build yourself back up too? Because I know for a while it was a struggle for you to
absolutely.
kind of deal. Because when the internet can be very loud, especially when they disagree with you.
Oh,
How
absolutely.
do you step back and say, you know what? This is me. I'm walking away.
Well, the thing that I have been reminding myself of, and I tell people about this all the time, is, I use Yelp to go find restaurants and beauty salons, all types of stuff. But I rarely use Yelp to say something positive about a business. Like, I use, you go on Yelp because, like, there's a piece of hair in your soup, right? You're not like, this restaurant, the waiter was on time and they were playing dope music. Like, people are more vocal about things that they don't like versus things that they do like.
Yeah.
And so you could have 100 great experiences at that restaurant, but then the one time you fix your fingers to go on Yelp is because, like, you had a bad experience. And you're not talking about all the other good experiences that you had. And so I have to remind myself that it's like that about all sorts of things, including my work. Sometimes I run into people in the street and they're like, I am such a fan of yours. And I think to myself, you are someone that probably never comments, likes, or subscribes. It's just, like, not how you engage with the work, right?
Right.
So definitely taking a step back and thinking about how I am vocal about the things that I love and the things that I hate. And realizing that, again, those voices being loud does not mean that they represent everyone. It just means that those people are really loud.
So for your book, I was saying to myself, like, before it came out, that my book would be successful to me if, one, of course, if it hit the Times list, but more importantly, if Black women loved it. For you, what is your measure of success for, that escalated quickly?
Oh, I think that's a really great question that I haven't had. I mean, I think for me, the measure of success with anything that I do is really how I feel about it, and I feel like I really pushed myself to do something different, to get out of my comfort zone, to be transparent in a way that I don't necessarily get to be on Twitter or on YouTube or on Facebook. And so for that reason, I mean, how long the process is of writing and publishing a book. To have gotten this far, for me, that's like a huge accomplishment. And I feel really good about what I've written. And so I can't determine how other people are going to feel about it, but so far the feedback has been really awesome, which has been just so encouraging and affirming. So yes, I would love to be on that New York Times bestseller list, but as far as I'm concerned, I already reached my goal. I said I wanted to write a book. I did it.
Yes.
I feel really good about it. I think it's funny and smart and surprising and interesting. And so, like, I can check that off of my list now. Yeah,
like, I texted you within the first 3 pages and I was like, I'm hollering. Like,
oh my God. And you sent me the nicest blurb. Like, I almost cried because it was just, I don't know. You are someone that I really look up to. You're very hardworking. You're entrepreneurial, which is one of the things I love and admire most about you. And so it's always really nice when people that you vibe with, or people you also look up to, appreciate your work. Because I always feel like that's a very good sign.
So you should already be proud. So we're going to have this chat in Chicago. Now, I always ask all my guests, as you're doing all the things you're doing, because you're like a multi-hyphenate like me, and a lot of us are, what do you do to take care of yourself? What are your, like, self-care must-dos?
I'm really into getting foot rubs. $35 1-hour foot rubs in New York. Get into it. They are so amazing. Hurt so good. I also, this might not seem like a high-level form of self-care, but I love getting my nails done. I spend weeks on Pinterest collecting ideas and brainstorming and looking at inspiration. It's really fun, and it's just something that I do for myself.
Okay.
And then I think the other big thing that I've been trying to do is not hesitate to say no.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I feel like, especially as women and as Black women, oftentimes everybody is demanding all this stuff from us. Like, teach me this, do this for me, help me achieve this, and being able to just say, like, no, I'm good, I'm not going to do that, has been so helpful. Whether it's saying no to a project, saying no to an argument, like online, folks want to argue, and I'm just like, I'm really not going to do that. Like, this is my self-care. I have things to do today, and I'm just not giving into this. When people want you to take on their own burdens, or like revamp their business or their relationship, it's just like, no, I really can't do that. So saying no has been a huge mode of self-care for me recently.
That is huge. It's actually, I'm working on it. I'm actually working on it because I need to get better at it. I've gotten better than I used to be, but we all need to get better at saying no because we say too many yeses. Well,
you had a really great article that was about saying no to work sometimes and realizing that you can't do every single job. Like, you need a weekend, you need to turn your phone off, you need to like turn your Wi-Fi off. I started using that self-control app because of you.
Yes.
Where you can plug in what websites you don't want to be on and it turns them off for you for a certain amount of time. And I feel like we have to do that with some people in our lives sometimes. It's like, I need to turn you off for like 5 hours. Like,
or 5 months.
I need to just like not engage with you because like you are not good for my mental health. You don't make me feel good. You distract me. I can't get my shit done. I'm just going to say no to this right now.
Yes, that's so important. That is so important. That's clutch. Franchesca, I'm super excited for you and looking forward to seeing you in Chicago for this one-on-one we going to do in front of people.
It's going to be so great. I'm so excited. If you want to come and see Luvvie and I in Chicago, you can go to my website, WTEQbook.com, to RSVP. I believe we're sitting down on the 30th, so I'm not sure when that episode is going to be out.
This episode will be out before May 30th. It's actually coming out next Tuesday.
Oh, amazing. So hopefully people can come and see us or come to any of the other stops in my book tour. I'm so excited to chat with you, but also to just like engage with our audiences. I feel like every time I meet people, especially your fans are like super funny and witty. When I get to meet my fans, I feel like, oh wow, like this is the audience I've cultivated. Like this is pretty cool. It's an awesome reflection and always makes me feel really good.
This will be good time. So thank you so much for joining me on Rants and Randomness.
Thank you for having me and congrats on the pod. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. See you on the internet and next week.
Okay, great.
Bye. Oh my gosh, shout out to Franchesca Ramsey for joining me. She is amazing. And you can follow her on social media at Chesca Lee. That's CHESCALEIGH on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow her. And her MTV web series, Decoded, is actually really, really smart. The things that they uncover, the myths they talk about, check that out. And let's help get Franchesca on the New York Times bestselling list. Pick up her book, That Escalated Quickly, wherever you get your books. So I'm talking Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, wherever you want to go. Order her book, pre-order her book so we can put her on this list because I want her to be celebrated in that way. Also, much love to Chicago Recording Company for partnering with me on this. Rant and Randomness is... I'm having a good time, y'all. So subscribe on iTunes, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, wherever else you get your podcast. Spotify, too. Come on. And keep your ratings coming. Keep your reviews coming. I'm loving them. They're really helpful, and it just keeps me going. As always, you can follow me on social. I'm at Luvvie, Luvvie everywhere. Oh, yeah. By the way, Rants and Randomness now has a Twitter account. It's at Rants Randomness. Just no and, but at Rants Randomness. Follow the show. Feel free to tweet any questions, any thoughts you have about the show, and you can use the hashtag Rants and Randomness too. See you on the next episode.